French into English. I'm a French and Japanese major at Oakland, but I have had 6 years of French and like 6 weeks of Japanese. So there will be a little Japanese in my presentation, but forgive me, I'm first semester, so we're getting there. Okay, anyway, this is a graphic novel that's a 39-volume series that was originally published in Japan. The story is pretty much about two broke guys that live in their car, and they run a recovery service. What happens is if you've lost something that means something to you, something that should not have been taken away from you, you can hire the GetBackers, and they will get it back for you. And they go through all these sorts of different missions, and it covers a lot of ground with the 39 volumes that it encompasses. But it really is revealing truths about art, it's revealing truths about humanity, divinity, and really just the nature of their universe. As it goes on, it develops into this very existentialist idea of what is God and why am I here, and they do it through the characters of Bon and Ginji, these two broke guys that live in their car. So we have a lot of different ground that's being covered throughout this series. We have art, we have mythology, we have quantum physics, the occult, advanced virtual realities, supercomputing, philosophical concepts, and just all these various ideas that they undertake through their mission of getting back what shouldn't have been taken from us. So they're vigilantes, they're good guys, even though they technically are stealing things from other people. Yes, we have a lot of different missions, organ farming rings, warring between Aboriginal clans. They've gotten back the lost arms of the Venus de Milo in some of their missions. They've gotten back the implosion lens for an atomic bomb to stop Tokyo from exploding, and they've even gotten back, I think one of their first missions was for 10 cents, for 10 yen, they got back a child's Final Fantasy game. So, good guys. Anyway, so these licenses were originally held by Tokyo Pop, and they were published in the United States. It's originally 39 volumes, and they got all the way to book 27, and then licenses expired. And Kodansha, the current right holder of the series, has not said anything, and there's been no movement on this series. So we have, like, the entire series conclusion is not translated into English. Lucky for us, France is the manga capital of Europe. So it's popular in online communities to scamlate. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but since the Japanese companies, I don't know what the problem is, but they're not realizing what a gold mine the American audience is for this type of literature. They have these websites that people will fan translate and put the words into images the same way that I have done here, and they will put them online and share them with their friends, and they're getting thousands and thousands of hits a month. So even though it is illegal, they are not originally published in English, so that's a lot of way for fans to get this kind of media into their lives. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I did with it. Putting this online was not my goal. What I really want to do is bind it into a book. I took all the original images from here. I didn't download them or anything. This is the French copy. So I have all the original images, high quality. I want to bind them into a book and put them on the shelf and just have it forever. So I wasn't intending to put it online. Okay, so here's what it looks like when we go... oh, no, we got to talk about this first. Okay. As a translator, I feel like I am, in a sense, a get-backer too. To be a get-backer is to also be a retriever of something important. This is what being a retriever is. Listen, this city is like a toy box dumped out on a trash heap. Your job is to find puzzle pieces in that heap that look like they'll form a picture. And whenever you start, see it through to the end. You never know what the picture will be until you place the final piece. That's the job of a retriever. Don't forget it. And if you've ever done translation, you can tell that you have a lot of different difficulties that you come through in approaching it, especially as being a second language speaker, having to take language that you don't normally encounter in a classroom, and just putting it all together into a finished product is just, it's difficult, but it's really rewarding putting it all together. So in a sense, I feel like maybe I am a get-backer in my own right as well. Okay, so here's what the image looks like when I originally scanned it in. You can see, like, granted, the paper is kind of gray, and if I were to literally translate what Bon and Ginji were saying here, this is what it would look like. And I should also note it was originally done in Japanese, so all of the images are going to read right to left. So I'm just going to narrate through it, and I hope we can just stay together. So it's crazy, Bon. I've never felt my body act with a reactivity like this. You said it. No demon can resist us. And you hear like these translations that are overly literal and don't have a lot of character to them that come through in a lot of media like this. But if we look at this image here, this is just two guys that I didn't explain, but they're actually fighting ghosts right now. Genji has the ability to control electricity through his body so he can electrocute things. Bon has the ability to call down the constellation of Asclepius into his right arm and has like 150 kilogram per square centimeter force grip. He's very strong in his right hand. So these are just guys going into battle. They're just fighting. There's a simplicity about what would be being said here, which, with translating this literally, has an overcomplication. Especially with Genji, he has no formal education. This is just two guys talking, fighting monsters. They wouldn't talk like that. So what I strove to do is really to preserve their voice in this, because they are really interesting and humorous characters. And this one in particular is just silly. So we kind of gave it an ease of language, changed some stuff around, and kind of made it sound more like something that you would say as you're fighting ghosts. This is crazy, Bon. I've never felt my body move so reactively before. You said it. No demon stands a chance against us. Especially, even though the French were racy statements, to resist, you wouldn't want to say that because in English, to resist, like no demon can resist us, sounds like there's like a sexual connotation of the demons cannot resist him and they're just coming in. It has to be changed, you know, even though that's what the literal thing is, it just needs to be changed for simplicity. So that's a lot of what I strove to do with Bon and Genji, because they're very colloquial, they're very relaxed. They don't use a whole lot of big words. So I really wanted to make it not sound like that they were just rattling stuff off. So here's a common example of humor in the series. This is actually from book 29, so we're kind of jumping ahead. 28 was extremely depressing. It was kind of the backstory novel, and I wanted to kind of stay upbeat for the presentation purposes. So we're going to kind of go through it here, and I'll explain why kind of humor is something that can't be literally translated. They are in a tournament right now, and they have just been introduced to their opponents, these very scary guys here. And Genji has previous experience with them. They come from a place called the Beltline, and they are immortal, superhuman monsters. Bon has had experience with them as well and says, yeah, we can take these guys. He's been showing off the entire time. He's very much the tough guy in this situation, and Genji is fearing for his life. So, did you see our opponents? Those guys are from the Beltline. And we have Bon saying, yeah, so what? Then Genji saying, so what? You just don't get it, do you, Bon-chan? Those guys that live there are all superhuman. First off, they're immortal and they're super strong. They're crazy, sadistic, psycho, merciless, bloodthirsty monsters. And then Bon in French says, "Rambalde expression de débile," which means literally, pack up your pathetic / weak expression. So, this is something that I have to take into account in translating this bubble. That's what he's literally saying. But he's hitting someone in the head with a mallet. He's not going to say, pack up your pathetic, weak expression. So, I have not found a suitable one yet, but I just kind of wanted to say that this is a problem that you run into. You can't always, especially in a comic book, translate something, just take the verbiage and put it into words. So, I see that a lot with Bon and Genji. They're always the funny guys doing something cool. Saizo Tofuin, I actually really liked writing for because he was the first character that I got to interpret everything that he did all on his own. So he has a very unique voice. He's very witty. He is playing like a triple agent. Like it's kind of a dramatic irony going on. Like we know he's a bad guy, but none of the other characters do. So he's very sneaky. He's evil, and he is just kind of like the used car salesman sucking up to people. So he was very fun to write for, in contrast to characters like Bon and Genji. Okay, so we're going to open up to a scene with Saizo talking to the Queen. They actually have just revealed that the Queen is actually kind of has like an evil twin that lives in a mirror. This big revelation that has been revealed to the audience, and it's very secret. And Saizo is kind of acting as like her second in command. He's like, I'm going to be around you all the time. I'm going to suck up to you because you're the Queen. And here's someone eavesdropping at the door. I can't read, so I'm going to walk over here. So, Saizo starts off, "Oh, Your Majesty, would you excuse me for a moment?" He scares her and goes, "Ooh, may I ask what you're doing here?" Please excuse me. I was bringing a drink to our Queen." He says, "Oh, okay, that's very nice. Put the tray down. I'll take care of it later. I'm sorry for scaring you. You can set that down." Oh, actually, yes. Did you by chance hear our conversation? Huh? But that you heard, didn't you? No, not at all. I assure you that I heard nothing at all. Oh, good. I would have thought to ask you to repeat nothing to no one, but since you didn't hear anything, nothing at all, you can believe me. Do you see his hand kind of lingers on his head for a little bit? You believe? Shit, you look awful. What happened to you? A crazy story. Listen to this. It's the Queen. There's a thing with the mirrors. Are you sure you're all right? What's that thing on your forehead? Where did this mark come from? Who the hell sewed these strips into your forehead? Huh? What the hell is that? Graphic explosion. The Queen goes, what was that noise? And Sizo says, sounds to me as if somebody just lost their loose lips. So, he uses a lot of play on words. He's kind of a humorous character. So, in a situation like this, I took the original French saying, sans du d'un petit bavard qui fait mordu la langue. That in French would be translated to, without a doubt, a little chatterbox who bit his tongue. Now, to bite someone's tongue doesn't have that much of a violent connotation here, and I think it has more of one in French. Just for researching and Googling it, it almost kind of sounds like to bite one's tongue off, as opposed to just, oh, bite your tongue like while you're eating ice cream or something. So I wanted to give it like more of a violence to lose one's lips that are loose. It just worked very well together, so I felt like I could make that decision decided to go there. Akabane is a completely different story. He has this witticism to him, but it is actually because he is super intelligent in this world around him. He's, if you've ever read Chaps Le Mur, he is very much like the Belgian doctor in that, in that novel. He kind of knows everything that is going to happen, but kind of just sits and watches around and taunts the characters with additional information and teases them because he is just kind of a rock in this river that's flowing around him. He's constantly knows the truth about their universes, kind of just mocking them almost constantly. The scene that we're about to enter into is actually pretty much like the biblical Sodom and Gomorrah. And they're entering it for the first time, and on the previous page we have people that are trying to prostitute themselves, sell their kids for money, they're selling drugs. It's very, very urban, very nasty. He's taking Himiko there, just one of the female characters, and he goes on and explaining about what this place is and why it is the way it is. So Himiko starts off here. What the heck is this place? And what a sight! This isn't so astonishing. Money, like men, always resemble one another in the heart of the underworld. The atmosphere is certainly exciting, but the entire population is a mismatch of the maniacal. Sadana was born from a project dating back to when Tokyo was the imperial capital. It concerned an underground network that would connect the tribunal to the detention center for the transfer of prisoners. So a tunnel was built in the direction of Babylon Tower, the center of Infinity Fortress. All of this would have been connected. But when the Babylon Tower project was abandoned, the development of the subterranean city sunk. It should be sunk too, I apologize. The construction work on an underground train station was also stopped in its tracks. And then Babylon Tower began to absorb all the surrounding buildings to form what we know now today as Ngenjo. As for Sodom, it continued to expand and welcome the illegal of all strings. The condition of the slums made it an ideal place to flee the conventional world. The 38 passages beneath the surface that existed in the beginning were filled up one by one. Today, only 3 remain. It's a place twisted and bent up upon itself. As it would appear, many of those who are born here die without ever seeing the light of the sun. So he has a lot of, his language a lot of times speaks for itself. It's formal, but it's also like there's hidden meaning laced within it, and he's attaching his own like little puns within his own mind to just kind of taunt the audience and to taunt the characters around him. This sentence here, he used the phrase in French, stoppé en cours de route, which means kind of stopped while it was moving, but since we were talking about trains, I thought it would be fun to include train tracks. It stopped in its tracks, and it's a train. So, stuff like that. On the previous page, we have, he mentioned that the entire population is en ramassis de sexe. a bunch of people who are psychologically disturbed. And since this is Akabane talking, I wanted to make a little play on words, so I kind of used a little bit of alliteration here, a mismatch of the maniacal. So I really liked writing for Akabane as well. Okay. There was a lot of different research that had to be done for this. What we're going to go into here is actually the most difficult phrase. It's the tiniest word that I've been working on for like 2 years. In addition to this, this is not language that you see in class. You have some characters that are speaking overly formally in the same scene where characters are speaking extremely crassly to each other and swearing and just saying overall nasty things. It's not what you see in dictionaries. And I have to go to like word reference. Anybody is I'm there all the time. It's amazing. And there are so many times when I had to it's nowhere on the internet, no one knows what it is. I just have to ask a French person. So I go to Madame Jumel and I'm like, hey, what's this word mean? So she'll help me out. She'll be like off the top of her head, that means this, and it's good. That means, with all this slang, I think probably Vaughn, who is a character who is a mixture of being extremely intelligent and a mixture of being, am I good on time?
We have about 1 more minute.
About 1 more minute?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, the time was gone.
I know. Okay, so we're gonna skip ahead. This particular phrase here, this tennis word, because Himiko is a tennis, killed me. It actually does not mean tennis. This is a printing error on my part that I wanted to talk about. The original French read Parce que Himiko est une Tainan. Tainan is not a word. So I was completely perplexed. We had no idea what it is. And I actually had to go back to the original Japanese to figure out what this was. So originally, I looked at this phrase here. That's just my Japanese. Himiko-san, teinas. I thought it said teinaso. But if you look here, these two characters look extremely similar. So I mistook it for reading teinaso, but it actually says teinan. So originally I thought it was talking about a game, a bridge formation in the game of bridge. The idea of absurdity and life being a card game is extremely prevalent, so I thought that was him talking like, oh yeah, she's like 2 powerful cards within the same hand on a bridge game. But I took it to Sensei after I realized that I had mixed up the letter, and she told me, no, this is an extremely obscure piece of Greek mythology that, to the best of my knowledge, has not been translated in English, but it has been translated quite prevalently in Japanese. So, yes. So, go on to my thank you page. Thanks for everybody, but pretty much from here I intend to do the rest of the series, with the support of all my wonderful professors, Madame Bourbon, my family who helped me out a lot, and for Sean, who is my fiance, my creative support with all this. So he's always helping me, and we just kind of wrote the series together. So that's pretty much it.